Hello, this video is a review and compilation of discussion 2 where I asked several questions about you and writing, and I wanted to just compile them and kind of add some comments because I think that'll be easier than responding. I think I had 57 discussion board posts, than responding to you individually because a lot of you say the same things, and that's exactly what I was expecting. So my first question is, what were some of the most valuable lessons you learned from composition 1? And as we scroll through there, you'll see that there's a lot of good things. Some of you had good experiences, some of you did not. And that's just unfortunately life. Um, it's what you make of them. So, some of the big things I want to pick up on are this idea that the reader matters. Um, Without a reader, your writing doesn't exist. So, focus on who your target audience is and align how you are writing to that audience with what you're trying to do, what your purpose is. And I'll iterate this all the time. I did it in Comp 1 as well. Know why you're writing and who your reader is. Those are the two most important things. As we get through these other things, there's some really good things like don't bore or confuse your reader. If you're bored writing, you're going to be boring your reader. Um, Another good thing is get other people to read your work and test your ideas. Writing doesn't exist in a vacuum. Um, you wouldn't not practice a musical piece or a performance or a sport and just go out and play. You need to practice and test those ideas. You have to make sure that, again, you're focusing with your reader. Make sure that you connect your perspective idea. And if you fail to do that, you have failed as a writer. If your reader doesn't see it from your point of view, you have failed. And so uh, we have to assume, of course, that a reader is genuinely interested in reading with interest and openness. And this is kind of the addressing this right here because I'm sorry that this is what you feel happened. I wasn't there. I know the instructor that you're discussing. Um, and oftentimes we lean on this idea, well, they just didn't like me as opposed to your ideas. And there's a lot of different things, and it really depends on how your instructor explain these things. So the idea, of course, is that sometimes you're not going to change everybody's mind. You're going to get a biased reader, or you yourself are going to be biased in your own writing. And it's what do we do to acknowledge these things? And so there's a lot of things that are involved in this, and we can discuss it privately if you would like. But I can't change what's happened in the past, and um, one thing we can really do is change our perceptions because we're going to be in a world where people have different perspectives and people have set opinions. And if you don't follow those exact guidelines, then there's nothing you can really do. And it doesn't matter if it's an instructor or your boss, right? How do we move on from that? Next is looking at some things like in communication. This again is what did you learn? Again, it's speaking with those who you're assigning and evaluating work. Talk with your instructor, whoever is asking you to do that. Ask questions and keep trying. I say writing is communication. It takes work. Your instructor is often your reader, so write to the assignment guidelines. If you don't know what those assignment guidelines are, ask for them. If you need an example, ask for one. But communicate with your readers. A lot of you talked about critical thinking, which is kind of cool. Critical thinking is an important thing. It's not something that you can just teach. You have to experience through a variety of exercises. It involves being wrong sometimes, and that's very difficult for a lot of people. There's a big connection between writing and thinking. Writing makes your thoughts real. Sometimes we change our minds once we've read what we've written. If you go back and look at stuff that you wrote a long time ago, you can be like, oh, it was so bad. Maybe you have this idealized version that, okay, well, what I wrote 10 years ago was perfect, but it's probably not because you grow and change in life, and you should be. And it's a good thing. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago, and reading and engaging with others changes our perspective on things. We might think something's really easy until we try to do it or we experience it. The important thing to remember is we all grow at different speeds. We should know why we view the world the way we do, and writing helps us to do that. Organization, several of you said you learn how to organize, and that's good. You have to put your thoughts in a way that leads from one idea to the next. Then we looked at formatting. Some of you had some issues with formatting, whether it was confusion about works cited and citations, research, all that sort of stuff. So, um, there's not one gold standard for formatting, unfortunately. An instructor can require a specific type of format that's different from other things. So we have to try to learn these different formats because even MLA and APA, they go through revisions every few years. And so, what you learn today in this class may be different in 5 years. That's just the way it goes. So we have to learn and try to keep things up and know where to find these resources, and I'll help you out with that. And general advice, basically, to sum these up, it's, think of your reader, start on time, start early, don't procrastinate, revise, proofread, share your ideas, talk with others, don't write in a vacuum, talk with your friends, your parents, your other teachers, and just keep thinking. Um, it's not a once and done sort of process. And finally, share your work, enjoy the process of communicating with others. Think of it as a challenge. You're sharing your ideas, you're writing something new, you're engaging with this greater community. Again, don't procrastinate. And then finally, do what works for you. There's no magic formula to writing. Let's see. What is good writing? Writing always has a purpose, and through this section, I just highlighted all the various things that I thought were pretty good. They're all good, but important things for you to look on. Focus on purpose and the reader, and you'll be there. It's going to depend on the situation. Knowing all these things is going to influence how you write. Again, if you're not engaged, your reader won't be. Typo, good writing doesn't just appear. It takes time and work. So you got to give yourself that time to do the work. Clarity, of course, is important. You need to have, good spelling and grammar, good sentence structure, because those can distract the reader. Typos happen. Nobody's perfect. We write so much that it happens. But does that mean the whole piece of writing is crap? No. Flow is important. It's got to be enjoyable to read. You've all had those pieces of writing that you've had to read that are just drudgery and it's awful and you just can't wait for it to be done. This one talks about persuading, entertaining, inform. Writing does these things, know how to blend them together. I found this to be nice, but this comes to a point. Writing should be passionate. You should believe what you write, but we can be wrong. And does that, passion make up for being wrong? I don't think it does. Especially when we get into persuasion and argument. Just because you strongly believe in something doesn't mean you're always right. And I know that we live in a world where you can browbeat people and refuse to concede arguments based on your beliefs, and that seems to be successful. But in the academic world, that doesn't always work that well. So I do think, of course, that you should care about what you are writing about, and that's what's going to happen with our topics. We should care about them. Again, clarity is important, but I'll also say that grammar is not writing on its own. The best writers, the ones we read in literature class, I don't know what that's going on, had editors. Hemingway famously said, that's why my editors are there. They're the ones that fix my grammar, my sentence structure, all that sort of stuff. And then, important thing, again, writing is a process. You got to give that writing process a chance. So a lot of good advice in here about writing. Know what you want to do, and recognize that sometimes your writing is going to take you somewhere else, and that is okay. You are not rigidly in control. Your ideas have to come out. Let's see. Weaknesses. All of you have a lot of weaknesses, and that's good. I didn't highlight the strengths, but we need to know where we're strong and where we're weak so we can build on our weaknesses to make them stronger, because that's what's important. A lot of you had trouble starting, so getting started. So we think, write, read, think, write. We can do all these various things, but that's a process. You have to give yourself time. And so where do you start? Do you start with the reading? Do you start with the thinking? Do you start with the writing? I just say start though. Start with a word, a line. Make a true statement. Make a false statement. It doesn't matter. these words can be erased. I want you to think about the laws of motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest until moved upon by an equal or greater force. I think it's a greater force. I'm not a scientist, but you know, you have to get started. It's easier once you get some momentum going, and so uh, start thinking about how do you get that idea moving. First drafts, you should be carefree. Uh, when you're writing, don't worry about the right punctuation. Even if it's a good idea, just start getting some ideas down. You have to erase it. You have to trust this writing process that your first draft is a discovery draft, that you're trying to figure out what you have to say. Uh, your ideas might be wrong, they might be bad, but that's okay. You need to turn off that internal censor, your critic that tells you that you suck, that you're wrong, that your ideas are bad, and you're going to fail this class and have to quit school and live in a van down by the river. Turn off that negative voice and just try to write some ideas. Grammar mistakes can be fixed. Your bad idea can be revised. You don't write anything, you have nothing to work with, right? So don't fixate on word count. I know that's a problem because that we're writing assignments, but just be excited to be contributing, right? You're being asked for your ideas and your thoughts, and how often does that actually happen in real life? People say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" No one. You have to really work hard to insert your opinions. So here is your chance. Someone says, "Hey, write your ideas on this." You get to do that, and that's really cool. Um, some of you talked about citations. Just practice signal phrase. Cite your work, even if it's an attributive phrase, like this person stated this. That is okay. Just do that in your draft, and that'll help you know where that information comes from. If you're not citing as you go along, you're going to forget where to put that citation. One thing I'm going to tell you is look in your textbook. You know your weaknesses. Look in our textbook, The Word on Reading and Writing, and find your chapter because it's probably in there. There are exercises, and then ask me questions. I'm going to say that nobody's a perfect writer. Um, we all go at our own pace. We all think differently, and that's a wonderful thing. So it comes down to confidence. Know that you are a unique individual, that your thoughts, ideas, and experiences all come together. They coalesce to make you, and you get to share that and provide something new. And so we have to see how others think, and it makes us human, and that's what's wonderful. Grades, right? B's are not bad. A B will show that you're learning. If you get all A's, it means that's probably too easy for you, right? And that's, problematic with this reward punishment system of our letter grades. Um, but, that's the way things are. Keep working hard and keep trying. And I know some of you work really hard for your A's. I'm not saying that those of you getting A's are just coasting by. Other things. Putting it all together, that's a good thing. Adding detail, worrying about being too wordy. I want you to trust this writing process to revise, reread, and rewrite. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. Really, to find a starting point, just start anywhere, just begin, and things will get easier as you write. You have to revise, you have to come back to it. No idea is perfect the first time. And finally, some really good advice with when you're stuck. Most of you say you take a break. That is wonderful. You should stop doing it if it's not working. Sleep on it. Sometimes we don't have the luxury of time to sleep on it, but take a break. Talk through it with somebody. That's going to be a very good thing. Talk through it with a classmate. If you're not taking this class with someone else at your school, or if you're a College Credit Plus student and you're all on this alone, reach out to somebody through the class. If somebody has some good points, you can message them through the email system, and I'll have to show you how to do that. And then talk with them. Ask them, hey, can we get together? Contact me. Talk with your parents. Talk with another teacher, and build your ideas. Read more. Do something mindless. Go on a nice little drive. Do some menial task. That's why we often end up cleaning everything in our house when we have a paper due, is because we'd rather do anything else than work on our paper. Write bad ideas. Just write crap knowing that it's bad. That might be helpful. But don't beat yourself up. and start early enough to allow yourself to be stuck. So a lot of really good ideas. I did compile all things about convincing others. I'm not going to go through these right now because I think we'll look at this when we start talking about claims. So, but I think it's good to have this compiled so we can start looking at it because these are all good things. I'm glad you have points of views. These could all be topics for your paper, but right now I'm not going to go through these because this video is already way too long. Anyway, I hope this helps you see kind of a main idea about the responses and that you're all on the right track. So good luck.